Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live. I'm your host, Lasheena Williams, and so excited to be back with you all and continue this month's conversation around measurement and evaluations for nonprofit organizations. If this is your first time tuning in, or if you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay in the chat box. Let us know that you're here, and we're so glad to jump into this conversation. Today, I have Dr. Angela White Jones back on with us to continue the conversation on measurement and evaluations for nonprofit organizations. And Dr. White Jones brings extensive professional experience in grants and contract management, research administration, and advocacy in several sectors, but most extensively nonprofits. Dr. White Jones believes in a connection between theory, developed data, and the dissemination of ideas through practical application and best practice development in the professional realm. Professionally, Dr. White Jones has written and been awarded over $21 million in grants and contract funding in her young career. Dr. White Jones teaches grant and contract management, strategic planning and management, leadership and organization model, and research administration, and so much more at the University of Central Florida. And we're so go nice, whoop, whoop, and we're so excited to have Dr. White Jones back on with us. Hello.
Hi, Lasheena. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Preparing for the end of the spring semester, getting ready for the summer semester. So, feeling good. Feeling good.
Love it. Yes. So tell if you don't mind just telling our viewers a little bit more about what you do, how you do it. I know I kind of read through your bio, but if you don't mind just sharing a little bit more.
Sure. So, yes, I am an associate lecturer at the University of Central Florida. I'm also the director of the Masters of Nonprofit Management program at UCF as well, and all of the graduate certificates that roll up into that. I teach several classes from strategic planning to evaluation to grants and contracts, which is my personal and professional background as well has been primarily in grants as well as in advocacy and governmental affairs. I have worked for nonprofits, for public agencies, for private agencies that are also working in kind of public private partnerships in the past. So I feel like I have worked for every sector there is related to something in the public space or the nonprofit space. So, and I continue to do that in my personal life as well outside of being a professor. But it's my joy and a pleasure to work in nonprofits and be in that realm all through my career.
I love it. And you mentioned teaching evaluation. So this topic is one of your topic areas, which is
Yes.
perfect. Before we dive into this month's topic, I believe you posted about UCF being one of the nonprofit management program being what the 15th ranked
Yes. Yes.
um program. Yeah.
Yay! Yes, it was very exciting. The U.S. News rankings came out a few days ago, and UCF jumped 3 spots from number 18 to number 15 in the top nonprofit programs. So that's certainly a reason to celebrate. We are very excited and grateful for that to our students, our alums, our advisory board, our faculty, our staff, anybody who is a friend of the program. That is due to you. That jump in that ranking is due to you, and we have only higher levels to get to after this, so we're just getting
Yay.
started on that for sure.
Yes, I am definitely celebrating as well because I remember when that program came to UCF, I was actually one of the first class for the master's program through it. So I'm like, oh yeah, I was celebrating. I was like, yes, this is absolutely awesome. And then I think I saw in the article, Eric who was on with us. So if you all missed Saul Outreach interview, definitely go back.
Amazing.
Such a passion. Yeah, he has such a passion for the field. And he talked about even how he and why he went back to school to be able to expand the organization and get those official learnings. He talks about that in his interview. So y'all make sure you go over to the guide section and go back and catch that interview. But yeah, when I saw that, I was celebrating. I was like, yay!
You and me both. It's very exciting. And so it's a good time to be a UCF Knight. It's a good time to be affiliated with the School of Public Administration. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
great time to be in the spirit of the nonprofit management program for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
love it. So this month's topic is one that many nonprofits run from, which is
Mhm.
evaluation.
Yes.
And I will say, when I first entered the field, it was an area that I ran from.
Yeah.
It definitely was an area, but then of course, when I ended up going into funding and the different levels within nonprofit, I started to understand more of the importance of being able to measure and evaluate the impact that your organization is having. So that's this month's topic, and I'd love to kind of talk about any tips you have for nonprofit organizations when it comes to measurement and evaluation for their nonprofit.
Yes. So it isn't surprising that it's a topic that can be intimidating sometimes because often you wonder, where do you start when it comes to evaluating? Do you have the team, the resources, the qualifications, the understanding of what it is that you want to do? But I think that the evaluation process is so crucial to the overall just crafting an energy of a strategy for a nonprofit and where they're going to go and where they have been, because it is within understanding those points that you can then say, okay, this worked, this did not work. It's essentially measuring, what does success look like? And so when people say, like, what do you mean by we've accomplished this goal, or we've made it to this particular point, what does that look like? And so that is the main question that I would say anybody who is in a nonprofit field, honestly, even before you start a program, particularly this is for like very, very new people that are looking to begin a nonprofit or starting at a nonprofit, is to realize, what does success mean? When someone asks you, have you accomplished your goal? What is your goal? And what does that look like? And how would you measure those areas of success? And that is what is wrapped up in evaluation for the most part. You can break down your programs in bite-sized chunks, so you don't necessarily have to evaluate everything all at one time. Sometimes you may want to have an evaluation on specific metrics in your program, such as how many people have started your particular program, how many people have continued it and have finished it. Has there been anyone who has fallen off for whatever reason? And what are those reasons? Is it something that relates to the program? Is it something that you or your staff can prevent? Is it something that you cannot prevent? If it's like circumstances beyond your control or that are affiliated with other people. And so there are measurements and metrics related to your budget. How do you use your dollars? How are they being managed? What is going towards your program versus operational costs? Are you getting the dollar to dollar rate of return, if you will, from your investment of those dollars, all the way down to um, looking at what is supposed to be the end result for the utilization of those dollars. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can go. And what I would encourage people is not to try to do everything at one time. Set up a strategy of, what are you going to measure? When are you going to measure it? And how are you going to measure it? And once you break that down into those chunks, it can become easier. But there's definitely, like, I think
Mhm.
another question I have often gotten is, what do we measure? What are we doing? And so I would say, well, what do you want to know? Like, if you are being brought this as a complete outsider, what do you want to see? Do you want to see if this program has increased reading metrics? Do you want to see if this program has built new forms of housing, of affordable housing? Do you want to see if this program has increased people's ability to attain new skills? What is it that you want to see? And once you answer that question, then you can start to develop an evaluation technique.
Okay, I love that. So I'm an organization. I identified this is what I want to see, and this is how I want to be able to tell my story based off of what I've seen. Um, and then now we went after some funding, and now this funder has requirements as to what they want us to see. So now that gets layered on. This funder has their requirements as to what they want to see. That gets layered on, and then you find yourself in a place where it's almost like evaluation becomes a full-time job.
Mhm.
What recommendations do you have for organizations in that situation? Like, is it consolidation? Do you lose what you wanted to see? Like,
Mhm.
what advice do you have for those organizations?
So I have a couple of things. One, an evaluation is going to be your full time job, but not in the way that I think people expect it to be. It is a full time job in the sense of it's an ongoing process. So you should
Mhm.
always continue to have your outcomes or your metrics available. So whether that is monthly, every quarterly, twice a year, or annually. Always have what that process looks like so that at any given time when someone is asking you for those metrics, you can pull them right up. And so I would say that it is something that you have to kind of get into the habit of doing, and understanding that it isn't going to be something that you're going to just have to do on a one-off or on a whim, or because you've gotten a certain grant or a certain sponsorship, but it's something that you want to keep, those numbers and those metrics and those outcomes you want to have at your disposal, because they're going to be very necessary for the next grant proposal that you'll need, the next contract that you may want to go for, the next donor, individual or group that you may have in that wants to give a major gift, the next time, even that you want to advertise, if you will, or market your nonprofit or have an event. You want to be able to share those numbers and to share your successes. And that's how, kind of almost how you have to think of it, is that you're looking at the metrics of your program, and those can be metrics of success. So like you said, to tell your story, you always want to keep these numbers going so that when it is time to put them all together, you have them at your disposal to have an evaluation program, or you have somebody that is there that can assist with that. So that's what I would say. Now, to the original question about layering on the expectations of different grant funders, what I would say is a lot of times you can avoid that depending on what you have written in your proposal. So I would always say, never when you're writing your proposal about what it is that you do, you also want to, there's 9 times out of 10, I know, and I don't want to say it's 100% absolute because there's always an outlier, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get an ask in that application that is going to ask you something along the lines of, how do you measure success, or how do you know that you've met the goal that you're stating, or how do you know that you've won, or that you've changed these things, or that you've made those accomplishments. And so right there, that's asking you about your evaluation. That's asking you to show them, what are your outcomes, what are the outputs, what are the resources that you're using, what's your methodology for measuring it. Are you surveying people? Are you sitting them down and asking them to tell their story? Do you have phone? Are you making like an exit interview or a phone call? Is it observation? I mean, there's a variety of, are you using a combination of that? There's a variety of those techniques. So it's asking you, how are you measuring? How are you doing what you say that you're going to do? And how are you measuring
Mhm.
that? So hopefully in your proposal, you've already outlined what that means and what you're already doing. So the metrics that are being asked by your grant funder shouldn't be a surprise, really, because those are things that you've already outlined in your proposal. So that's why I always tell my students or clients that I've had in the past that you never want to write anything in your grant proposal that you're not able or willing to do and to accomplish. So never make promises that are too lofty, never make anything that you cannot keep. If you think that, oh, I don't have the bandwidth or staff to have these long range longitudinal studies about our efficacy, then don't do that. And you can even say, like, that's part of why we're asking you, is to one day be
Mhm.
able to ramp up so that we can get to this point. But what we can do is that we can give you a pre-test. We can send out a pre-test survey to our clients or our customers, and then we can do a post-test for those that are remaining, and we can share results, with our questions that are going to assess the program and its, effectiveness and its quality and its efficacy, all that kind of stuff. And you can do that. That's what we can do. So never, I would say that, like, if you feel that, like, this funder is asking me something that I don't know, I would say go back and read your grant proposal. If it's something in the grant proposal that you didn't include that they're asking you for, then contact your funder and say, well, when we wrote this, we wrote it thinking that we would share our results in this format. We understand you're asking it in this format, but we're not able to do it for XYZ reasons. May we have the ability to instead share our information this way. If you explain it and get ahead of it and not just try to give it to them when you're not really sure what they
Mhm.
want or you don't think that you can, that's where you get into trouble. But if you communicate and say, this wasn't really in our original proposal, we'd like to be able to give this to you, but we can, or it's going to take us a little bit more time, explain that. And a lot of times grant funders, they do understand, and they want you to share the metrics that you're able to share. So that's where I would say with that,
Mhm.
to do that.
Do you have any recommendations on places or like where you can find kind of, I guess, best practices when it comes to like measurement and evaluation for an organization? Like, for instance, if I'm a senior organization, these are some good areas to evaluate based off of, what's happening in the industry. If you're a youth organization, these are some areas. I know it will kind of fluctuate based off of the type of services or programs and so forth for the organization, but is there like a starting point that you have to recommend organizations to go to?
That's a good question. I probably don't really. I Because there's a lot of
Mhm.
really good textbooks that will talk about evaluation, but the trouble with textbooks, and I read a lot of them, so in preparation
Mhm.
for class, so that's why it feels like that's what I tend to read. It's like textbook laden things on evaluation, and you can certainly get those, but they're very dense. They're very big. They will give you, if you are not like a computational expert or somebody who really loves a good formula, you will probably look at it and be like, no thanks, this is
Mhm.
overcomplicating, and with all due respect to our authors in the field, it can overcomplicate the necessity of what you have to do, um, for programs and for programmatic use, for practical use as
Mhm.
well. So I too am looking for books that have practical application for evaluation. And if I do find one, then Lashina, I will send that to
Okay.
you so that you can share to your group. I would
Okay.
also say just easily, Google, doing an old fashioned Google search for, nonprofit evaluation will give you a good overview of what you want to look for and how you can utilize it, and some general questions that you can ask yourself. Because honestly, when it comes to evaluation, you are usually asking, you know, how is this program, like, who is utilizing this program? Are they utilizing it to the end? If they're dropping out, why? Is it
Mhm.
an issue of availability? Is it a cost issue? Is it a timing issue? Is it, a whole lot of other things? There's discussions about bias as you conduct an evaluation to make sure that you are holding yourself ethically responsible as you are looking at these numbers and this data. So I would say right now Google is your best friend for articles that are going to give you more of a practical application sense.
Mhm.
Like I said, a lot of books right now that I read tend to be a lot of very dense material that I don't know if are quite the best for practical evaluate application, but I will look and do some research and try to find
Oh.
something for
Thank
you.
you. Okay, and then I want to talk about the who. Like, who is the best person, and I'm thinking more low to no cost. Like, if you're an organization and you're starting to get to that level where you need some additional research to support your mission. Like, I know of organizations where they'll work with the local university, have a researcher come in, especially in topics that are, maybe unique to a certain area. What are some resources there or people that nonprofits can plug into, or organizations and entities nonprofits can plug into to maximize like how they conduct measurement and evaluation for their organization?
Absolutely. So, if you don't have anyone in the nonprofit, one, I would say for the most cost effective, look and see who you have in your staff,
Hmm.
um, and see if there's someone who either has a background in it or has just a really good passion for kind of studying the end result and what that
Hmm.
looks like. And also, you may look at your board and see if your board has any experts or people or any expertise of individuals who have gone through an evaluation, conducted one, or again, also has a background or a desire for that. Either they may do it themselves or they may know of people who do. So, looking at your own resources that you already have at your disposal is
Hmm.
probably the most cost effective. If that doesn't work, then there are a number of universities and programs that are available to conduct that kind of evaluation and the kind of research. So, like at UCF, for example, we have faculty members that have conducted that. Type of evaluation processes for nonprofits and for other programs in and of itself, because it's not just nonprofits that need evaluation. It can be private or public-private practices or hybrids as well. Hybrid businesses. We have, just to kind of promote our
Hmm.
wares out doing it. We have the Center for Public and Nonprofit Management, which also does an excellent job at um, bringing together faculty along with some students who are really, really capable individuals of engaging in evaluation services and research. So if that is, you may want to look at, if you're local, look at that. If you're watching this from other places, and I would say follow up with, your local university and see if they do have faculty or maybe even a service learning component where students can engage in helping with a evaluation program. We also have that at UCF. We have a service learning component to our evaluation course for our master's students in several programs in our school, and our students will can do anything in those projects, all the way from building an evaluation plan. That's what they do in my class. So they don't conduct it itself because it's in the summer and it's a short
Hmm.
class to have. But some also, for longer classes, may actually complete a small scale evaluation. It's always good to come up with a plan first before you
Hmm.
run right into it.
Hmm.
So if you've got
Hmm.
time, then some students will be able to do that. If you don't, some will create a plan that gives you a guidance on how to conduct an evaluation plan on your own or with other staff from your organization. So I would say look at universities
Hmm.
first. Um, look at your own staff, look at your board, see who is connected or who just maybe has a passion for, looking at the ins and the outs and the end result. They're the means and ends folk, and you want to look
Mm-hmm.
at who that is, and maybe give them a chance with like what a smaller type of evaluation may look like, and then grow from there. And
Love
one
it.
other thing, I think your grant
Mm-hmm.
person also is probably the best, another great um, individual that can help
Mm-hmm.
with evaluating, because a lot of grant writers are also now trained in looking at the end result of
Mm-hmm.
those programs.
Love it. Any other tips? I know we covered a lot of ground today in this conversation. Any other tips or areas when it comes to measurement and evaluation you would like to share?
I would just say again, take it piece by piece, look at the outcomes. Like, again, what does success mean to you? And what do you hope that your project or your program is getting out of it? If somebody asks you, how do you know that what you're doing is that you're on the right track with what you're doing? If you can explain that to someone, then you are on the right track indeed
Mm-hmm.
to evaluating those particular programs and projects.
Awesome. So, before we close out, a couple things. How can people get in contact with you? Is there or the school, university to find out more information?
Yes, you can send me an email. And my email is angela.white-jones@ucf.edu. I'm also on LinkedIn under Angela Jones. Just send me an in message. And our school, you can find, we've got several pages for nonprofit, but if you go to UCF under our programs, it's under the
Mm-hmm.
School of Public Administration and then under nonprofit management. You can just Google UCF nonprofit management and it's right there. But the easiest way is to send me an email. We have actually a fabulous person who is dedicated towards connecting people with our students and with our faculty for service learning classes. I can put you in contact with that individual as well. He's really great and will help explain kind of the process and what that looks like for you and what our students can do as well for you.
Awesome. So before we close out today, I have a fun game of this or that. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. You let me know which one your preference is, okay?
All right.
All right. So pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Plane or train? Travel by plane or train?
Well, for being expeditious, plane, but I love a good train ride, honestly. I will take the train. I love it. Yeah,
Comedy or drama?
comedy.
Sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
Rain or snow?
Rain. I grew up in the Midwest. I've had my fill of snow. Like, no thanks.
And last but not least, ebook or physical book?
Physical book. I'm a physical book all
Okay,
the way.
gotta
Note
hold it.
taker. Gotta hold
Okay.
it. Gotta hold it. Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming back on. We hope to have you back on for future episodes as well. And that's all we have for today. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.